Will we ever get a StarCraft first-person shooter or mobile game in the future with this franchise? I want to present this topic and this question to all of you. I'm going to give you guys my thoughts and opinions on this. And then, like I said, I'm going to pass it on to you guys, and I would love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comment section down below so we can have a real conversation about it. So let's get into it. So, guys, there have been, as I stated in our first topic of the day, I talked about how StarCraft, as far as from a first-person shooter perspective, was being made twice, actually, and out of those two times, they both ended up canceled. The first StarCraft first-person shooter title was titled StarCraft Ghost, and then the second one was an untitled StarCraft first-person shooter, which was more recently, that also got canceled. Both of these, StarCraft Ghost and this untitled StarCraft first-person shooter game, were both canceled for one reason or another, whether it was creative differences, whether it was, just they didn't have enough there for a first-person shooter, which I believe would be absolutely amazing. But nonetheless, they've both been canceled. Here's the thing. I do believe a first-person shooter very well may come at some point or another. And the reason for that is because obviously they worked on not one, but two first-person shooters. It didn't work, but at the end of the day, I think that there's certainly something there. There's certainly an opportunity for them to make a first-person shooter at some point or another, that being Activision Blizzard. Now, what I'll say is that obviously, Activision, more so than Blizzard, but Activision is very well known for Call of Duty, which is the biggest first-person shooter in the world. And so I think there's a real question mark, like that StarCraft, for a first-person shooter StarCraft, could do very well for Blizzard as well as Activision. Now, Blizzard is known for a number of games, right? I mean, obviously, Overwatch is probably one of their, bigger titles over there from more so an esports perspective, but they're probably thinking something similar here with StarCraft, making a first-person shooter that could be the next thing after, Overwatch for Blizzard, and it could be something that is really special, people at least trying it out and such. I know many people who would at least try out a first-person shooter StarCraft game. However, I've stated this as well, I don't want that to replace the StarCraft real-time strategy game, which would be StarCraft 3. I would rather this be something separate. So yes, to answer the question, I do believe we're going to get a first-person shooter because it's certainly something that's been on the minds of those over at Blizzard for quite some time, and most likely in the minds of Activision, who owns them. So I think that they will make it. They just got to get over the hump of whether it's the creative decisions, whether it's, what microtransactions are put in the game, whether it's a free-to-play first-person shooter or not. There's so many question marks here, right? And so I believe that there will be a first-person shooter game. That leads me to the second part, which is a mobile game. And we've heard this many times, guys, by Activision Blizzard, that obviously they're going to be making mobile games. Diablo Immortal is going to be coming out here for, of course, Blizzard. You have Call of Duty Mobile, which is absolutely a juggernaut and a massive mobile experience for people from the Call of Duty franchise. So yes, I do believe that StarCraft is going to get a mobile game. Now, what I've stated in the past as well is that I would love them to have some kind of basic concept. If they decide to make the mobile game for StarCraft like a real-time strategy, I would like them to try to take some things, maybe kind of give their own flavor and twist on it to that of Command & Conquer Rivals, which a lot of people didn't like Command & Conquer Rivals. A lot of people actually just didn't give it a chance, but this was a title, in my opinion, that was it was simple to understand, complex though at the same time to try to, obtain victory, and there was just, lots of back and forth, and I thought it was a great RTS mobile game to say the least, probably my favorite actually up to this point in time. Now, if they did do that and made a real-time strategy, like I said, I would like them to kind of take some things that maybe worked or, didn't necessarily work and kind of change those things from Command & Conquer Rivals. Do I think it's happening? Absolutely. I absolutely think StarCraft is going to get a mobile game. Now, when is another question, because I believe the next thing coming out for StarCraft is most likely going to be StarCraft 3. Because the first-person shooter got canceled, I was going to say that the first-person shooter is probably the next thing coming. However, since it was canceled, I believe that the StarCraft 3 real-time strategy game is going to be next. Following that would probably also be an announcement for the mobile game. The first-person shooter would probably come at some point later on. I just think, guys, that it makes sense. Look, I would much rather them make these titles than not make them, because guess what? There's a possibility if they don't make these, there's a possibility we won't get any more StarCraft, any more StarCraft whatsoever moving forward in the future here. We just met the 10-year anniversary or celebrated the 10-year anniversary of StarCraft 2, which is absolutely amazing. But what I'm getting at, guys, is the longer time goes, there's going to come a point where, that the fan base of StarCraft, not that it's going to go anywhere because people are going to love StarCraft no matter what, but what I'm saying is this could take us to the next level once again with StarCraft 3, or even a first-person shooter, or even, a mobile game. Mobile games, guys, are definitely a touchy subject for people. However, I do think it definitely helps build legacy. It builds lore and such, and it gives you more ways than one to connect with the franchise, which is one of the most important things to me when you consider building communities, building fan base and such for the long term. Call of Duty Mobile, guys, it's a great experience overall. I'm not very good at it, but I enjoy what they're trying to do with Call of Duty Mobile. They're continuing to service it, continuing to update it. I'm assuming that they're going to continue that for the future. A StarCraft Mobile could be something very similar, something that could really just kind of continue building what they started with the original couple of StarCraft games. This is kind of, these are spin-offs, right? A mobile game, first-person shooter, continue StarCraft, the real-time strategy side of things into the, to StarCraft 3. I just think it makes sense. It just does. Because do you want StarCraft to go the way of like Heroes of the Storm? I don't think you do. You don't want that to just completely, us fall off totally in its totality. Sure, you got to be smart about it, but at the same time, I just think that I would much rather have continuations and take the leap of faith, take that risk on these games rather than see nothing at all and just get extremely complacent, which I believe that we've been pretty complacent with StarCraft 2 at this point in time. Don't get me wrong, Blizzard's done a great job up to this point with StarCraft 2 in servicing the game, creating new map pools, trying to have balancing and changes and things of that nature. But I think a StarCraft 3, a StarCraft real-time, or a first-person shooter, or a mobile game could certainly continue elevating everything. I don't want them just to announce a first-person shooter. I don't want them just to announce a mobile game. I would rather they announce the mobile game with StarCraft 3 as the real-time strategy, or the first-person shooter with the, with StarCraft 3 as the RTS, because that's what it started as, and that's what it needs to continue as, in my opinion. Sure, you can have spin-offs, you can have other ways in which we can connect with the franchise, but stick with what you know. That's the RTS space. But with that, guys, what do you think? Do you think we're going to get a first-person shooter for StarCraft? Do you think we're going to get a mobile game for StarCraft? Let me know in the comment section down below, and let's have a real conversation about it.